Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to my weekly God report. This week, week 10, June 16th through June 23rd, the rise of the prophets. Sorry this one is coming to you a little late, but I had a busy weekend and was unable to get everything together. Hopefully you guys are having a great week and are ready for your actions. Quick reminder, those of you who are planning your actions ahead of time, you may want to at least leave some actions open in case you have someone knocking at your borders and you need to take care of them, as opposed to building that next new city or temple or some such. Better to be safe than sorry and be prepared. I highly recommend you listen to or read the report before submitting your actions, but I really do need to get these in by Friday so that I can have them out by Monday. A lot of you are having trouble when the report comes out on like a Wednesday like today, only giving you a couple of days to contemplate your actions that need to be in by Friday. So let's get on with it. Week 10, the rise of the prophets. Elves from all three nations began moving into and through the lands of Xantar, the Eternal Light, and the Lord of Starlight's realm, on their way to the southern shores of Xantar's realm. As the hordes of the Harvester's forces began to disembark the God of Death's warships in the capital of Lord Xandar's realm, a grand cathedral rose above the walls of Xanadine, along with a solitary mystical spire aglow with mystic energies that illuminate the night sky for hundreds of leagues in every direction. Several armies of Lady Teriel's forces marched at lightning speed to Xanadine and on to her southern shores. Massive war steeds and flights of giant eagles accompanied them in this lunar cycle, as the goddess of life dedicated her followers to put an end to the unholy abominations tainting the pristine shores of her beloved cousin's realm. Lady Tamia's troops were seen joining her cousin's forces on the way to engage the undying forces of the Harvester. Her giant eagles and sea serpents sped south as the Harvester's war machines unloaded and began to lay siege to the city of Astaria and Castle Xanaroth. The ever-present plumes of smoke renewed their fuming from the depths of Lord Aradron's undermountain realm this lunar cycle, and giant pterodactyls began swarming over the mountain peaks of Adrana and Ranadar. Grakala, the prophet of Dracor, the god of wisdom, assembled the servants of Dracor to inaugurate the grand ziggurat at the center of Dracor's mountain realm this cycle, and proclaimed a new path for their people as a new path lay before them. The sinking plain was quiet this lunar cycle, as Uxmal and his people remained relatively unseen despite the unrest on their borders and elsewhere across the central continent of Myar. Waves of hunger spread across the eastern ocean as the demands for more and more victuals to satiate the never-ending hunger pangs of the great devourer. The dark dreamer, his prophet, ordered his minions to extend their hunting grounds lest they end up on the great devourer's dinner plate. The realm of the Wind's Edge was rife with frantic activity this lunar cycle, as the mountain tops of their eyrie saw the construction of a new city in the clouds and a new castle. The forges of the Harvester have been working overtime this season, as the need for more arms and armor is at an all-time high as they storm the shores of Lord Xantar's realm. The goddess of the soul has sent out yet another army toward the walls of Lord Arcanum, led by her prophetess, the handmaiden of death, to lead this newest army of walking dead. Lord Stundar and his minions have apparently retreated deep within their mountain nation, as naught has been seen from them in several lunar cycles. The lands of the Crimson Crucible saw the creation of yet another city, keep, and temple dedicated to their lord Teng Fei this lunar cycle, while their lands continued to hum with mystic energies the likes of which had never been seen before. The forges of the hobgoblin-gored Ratham Rex continued to fill the skies with great clouds of smoke, smog, and the sounds of metal on metal this lunar cycle. The great prophet Spinar was seen leading great flights of giant bats, vampires, and arachnid warriors toward the southern part of Illustrandia's island nation this cycle, as a giant spiraling tower was erected near her new castle of Talstrandia. While the turbulent waters of the northwestern abyssal sea continued to churn, a mighty tower rose from its inky depths as ships from the Pride Lands grow ever closer to Click-Clack Bibbledoop's undersea sanctuary. Lord Timo's people erected a large castle on the southern elven shores in defense of Lord Xantar's people, and with his permission they began ushering large numbers of Mothman soldiers to help stave off the undead invasion from the Harvester and his minions. Lord Timo's people also erected a strange new glowing lighthouse on these southern shores that seemed to have a rather dramatic effect against the scourge of the undead, threatening the peace and the lives of the immortals of the central continent. Lord Vermark erected yet another grand forge this lunar cycle as the sounds of grinding gears and hammering anvils fill the air across his lands and deep into the realm of Ilstrandia's island nation. Something else is churning amidst the northwestern sea. In the waters surrounding the tiny island of Lord Mortis, god of death and assassins, great tidal waves surged away from his shrouded sanctuary and sent massive deadly waves toward the realm of Lord Hillfeather, Lord Athanatos, and the newly conquered lands of Lord Az. The fleets of Lord Athanatos have deftly avoided the crushing waves of Lord Mortis' activities this cycle and sent envoys to their cousin Lord Averon and Lord Karam, while back home his people built another small keep and a roaring new city along its own southern shores. Wild mystic energies could be felt emanating from the land of prosperity as the river god Eshman sat on high, watching his people from his mountaintop sanctuary this lunar cycle. Lord Averon and his people seemed quite sedentary this cycle, as his people most likely contemplated their next course of action as hostilities heat up amongst their southern and eastern neighbors. Lord Karam's fleets seemed to be at odds with one another this cycle, but soon this disagreement was stifled as his primary fleet was surrounded by a mystic glow that deftly defended off the insubordination, and soon both fleets returned to harbor as more and more glowing domes seemed to cover the holdings of Lord Karam and his newly constructed tower in the northern mountains near their great harbor. Tembra's minions were silent and secretive again in this lunar cycle, save for the construction of another city in the northern wastelands. The great dwarven prophet Tam led great flights of pterodactyls from his newly built citadel toward the gnomish empire of Lord Marsala this lunar cycle, decreeing the time for war against their hereditary enemies has come at last. The armies of Lord Kurza began the long march toward Lord Hillfeather's realm, but whether it is a march to war against their diminutive cousins or in defense against the Azkatsi invasion is as of yet to be determined. Lord Hillfeather's envoys were seen entering the grand palace of Lord Xantar and then returned via an assumed mystical portal of some sort, and they were soon seen back home again in time for the coronation of their first war fleet and the arrival of a flight of giant eagles that were gifted to the halflings by their wood elven neighbors. The lands of Marsala are now enshrouded night and day with the smoke and fire of his mighty forges that dot his empire. The non-stop clanging is only interrupted by a strange buzzing sound that seems to permeate the very air itself at regularly scheduled intervals. I'm getting thirsty. Lord Arcanum's refugees seem to be making the best of things under the protection of Lord Timo's people, and this lunar cycle they have built a new city, temple, and forge on the southern shores of Lord Timo's realm. While back home, Lord Arcanum's people engaged Lady Izza's forces to yet another standstill. This time, the goddess of the soulless mystic defenses were too powerful for the lupine armies to penetrate. As the fleets of Lord Az near their many destinations, his people erect a grand temple on their newly claimed island chain in the northwestern seas. A mighty war fleet from the lands of the Piper arrived just off the shores of Lord Vermark's grand castle on the island of Illustrandia's goddess. The goddess of wine, women, and song continues to marshal her forces in an inevitable conflict in the eastern central seas. Zenaria, the prophetess of the Lord of Vampires, Conrad von Stark, raised her personal contingent of alkalite bat riders and met the fleets of Lord Az. and were successful in sinking one of the great Azcatsi fleets and driving off the others. Well, there you have it, folks. Sorry about that. I was getting thirsty toward the end there. It's a million degrees outside and only a little less hot in here. So there you have it for this week. I will have the next report out hopefully earlier than this one. I look forward to seeing all of your actions promptly Friday. I know a couple of you are still going to be straggling along, but you know, these things happen and we'll try to make the best of it. But for now, that's what I've got for you. Later on, I will have another omnibus review, and I'm working on reviewing an actual game product. I know it's been a little while, but it's from one of our dear friends, and since it finally landed on my doorstep, I thought it would be prudent to get that one out for you. So until next time, folks, have a great rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow night, and until then, happy trails.